Hi, welcome to FedScoopTV. I'm Dan Verton. Today we're here talking with Dr. Christopher Jacobson, the Chief Technologist, U.S. Federal Systems and Technology Group for IBM. Dr. Jacobson, thanks for being here.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So we're talking about open source today, and wanted to see if you could offer some thoughts on what trends you're seeing today in open source.
Sure. You know, IBM's been involved in the open source movement. You know, remember e-business and those kinds of concepts in the 90s, trying to get disparate businesses working and moving at the speed of electrons. We've seen shifts, major shifts. The publish and subscribe, which was wonderful, of exposing information and data. Sense and respond kind of era, which went with the whole service-oriented architecture, where we're stitching those services together. Standards, open standards for workflow engines. And now as we're kind of getting to this data-centric realm, very big data analytics, really lending itself to a cloud computing framework. That's enabling this predict and act. So being able to not just have sort of improvements in supply chain of information, but able to anticipate and bring some additional sense out of the data layer.
Right.
And that explosion is all, in unstructured data, seems to be all in unstructured data. So IBM's been making some major significant investments now, similar to kind of a pattern of what we did. If you look at '99, IBM invested $1 billion in Linux and committed 350 IBMers to really make that ready for industrial strength, help jumpstart its use for industry. The government certainly saw major benefit from that. In the same way, today with OpenStack, IBM's doing the same thing. In spring of this year, IBM committed 350 IBMers to the whole OpenStack, contributing code base, helping with thought leadership with the direction of OpenStack. And this summer committed an additional 500 IBMers to open projects. And so we're moving that forward in a very significant commitment.
That's almost 1,000 people behind it.
Yeah.
When you look at government, are there particular areas of government that are adopting open source at a faster pace than others?
Well, there's different parts of government that I believe are open at a faster pace, and then there's also some segments of open that are being embraced very quickly. And let me speak to both of those. Mm-hmm. In terms of early adopters, I would say, certainly if you look at NSA and the Navy, really solid on the open path. NSA, of course, some of the best workforce in terms of skilled workforce to be able to take, raw open source and roll their own, essentially. You look at the Navy, and just, under the Federal Data Center Consolidation Initiative, mm-hmm. the Navy has their data center consolidation and applications optimization, and they are now embracing or engaging with industry and basically prescribing standards, open standards, mm-hmm. Against which industry will respond for that path on an open form of cloud computing. They've specified OpenStack, the Tosca standard, mm-hmm. For application orchestration and portability. They're also, we've heard quite a bit about the collapsing of that seam between the development and being able to move that to the cloud. And so they've embraced the open services lifecycle framework for, an open framework for different development tools. Right. We heard about GitHub. We've talked about CVS, Subversion, ClearCase, mm-hmm. but really there's been some real embrace by the Navy, and for that matter, those open dev test tools environments have gained traction across a broader government. I mm-hmm. feel.
What lessons learned do you think are coming out of the government in terms of their open source adoption that might be of use or of interest to the private sector?
Well, again, as I look at what the Navy's been doing, they are, we can learn a lot, and I think an awful lot of the other players in the government can learn a lot from where the Navy's been going with that, with their adoption of OpenStack, mm-hmm. prescribing OpenStack, and their involvement in some of these open bodies. Like OASIS, IBM is a major, not just a contributor, but a thought leader on many of the bodies for OASIS, the Tosca standard, again, for application portability, and really being able to have an enablement for, that cloud infrastructure going forward.
So you're a chief technologist at IBM, so this probably is not an unusual question for you, but take out your crystal ball.
Sure.
Go 2, 3, maybe 5 years down the road and tell me where you see open source going.
Well, I think that if you look at if you look at the role of industry, a lot of times folks think about open source and they think about, maybe, young, bright, technical types putting out, contributing a lot into this open movement, and that's certainly a part of it. But if you look a little closer, industry is a very huge segment. I mean, I've kind of talked a little bit about the significant investment of IBM in Linux and OpenStack. We contributed the Eclipse integrated development environment, UEMA, the unstructured information management architecture, that is now opening up not just cloud computing, big data, and analytics, but really kind of getting into the whole cognitive computing arena. Artificial, we used to talk about artificial intelligence 20, 30 years ago, but really that kind of environment where we're able to wring out from all of that unstructured information and that corpus of information and really be able to wring out some sorts of decision support capabilities. So I think that what you're going to see, and I think the government is beginning to recognize that. I think they're beginning to understand, open is becoming more mainstream. Government, I think, is beginning to come to terms with, what is closed and what is open. Now is an opportunity for the government to get it right. Mm-hmm. When you look at how they dealt with operating systems, hypervisors, browsers even in the past, they tend to go with a market-leading but a closed model, which was a block to innovation. And it also caused skyrocketing licensing costs. I think that the trend we're going to see is the government's really going to get it right with this cloud, with OpenStack, for example, but also as we go forward with big data in the cloud, data analytics, mm-hmm. cognitive computing. I think that there's going to be a recognition that industry really has a significant play in the open arena, and it has for quite some time. But I think they'll recognize going forward that industry and the commercial complement to open is going to be very important for them to kind of be plugged in with that as they lay out their roadmaps mm-hmm. as well.
Great. Well, Dr. Christopher Jacobson is the Chief Technologist for U.S. Federal Systems and Technology Group at IBM. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
This has been FedScoopTV. I'm Dan Verton. Thanks for watching.